Once again, live from the Ignition Studios here on the show floor of AIMExpo 2026. A little heads up, our next guest is somebody who knows a thing or two about the helmet world. And I thought, who better than Thom to send out and do a little collision dynamic type investigative reporting on the state of the helmets presented here at AIMExpo. Dave, what was innovative, groundbreaking, or outright stupid that you saw here?
That's a loaded question.
Exactly.
Loaded question. Excellent. Well, the thing that stands out for me, first of all, just from a big picture, is the fact that there were a bunch of helmet companies here. The last show that I went to, which I think was Las Vegas a couple of years ago, there was sort of two helmet companies there, almost no presence at all. And there's been about, I think I got 15 that I talked to, and I think I found everybody. Which is really neat to see that kind of participation. A couple of the 500-pound gorillas are not here. HJC, for example, Bell, they're not here. But tons of people are, and tons of people with some really innovative things. And innovation in this time of our lives mainly relates to reduction of rotational acceleration, which is what we've probably all heard about on the news with the NFL concussions and all that. And the fact that helmets can be engineered to add and yet somewhat unproven, but a extra level of protection from rotational injuries, which are at the low end manifested as concussions, and at the high end of that is people never wake up. So it's neat to see that a good percentage of the helmets here today have got some kind of an anti-rotation technology, which doesn't mean the ones that don't have it aren't still great helmets, but they don't have that future, what in the future everything will have to have. As the standards continue to evolve, two of the standards out there now, the FIM racing standard and the European ECE 22.06, have a test for rotational acceleration. And while that test is not tough yet, the fact that there's a test in the standard means that someday it's going to be more and more and more important. And at some point, it'll be important enough that you'll have to have some kind of an effective anti-rotation technology in order to meet the standards and sell a helmet. And that'll, in the long run, that'll be good for us motorcycle riders. I don't know if I'll still be riding in those days, but I'll hope so. Cross my fingers.
It's not bad weather. It's just bad gear. It's not age. It's just you need better riding gear to keep you going longer.
Is that what it is?
That's it.
Like a
clothes make the man.
Robotic frame, something with external musculature. Yeah, I could probably use some of that. I could indeed. So it was an interesting day, and I started with the list of exhibitors and went through it and looked to see who I recognized as helmet companies, and started going to those, starting with 6D because I really wanted to see the new ATR3 with the new goggle setup. And then as I walked the aisles, I find another helmet company that wasn't labeled as a helmet. They had helmets for sale. So quite a few of the ones that I added to, which meant I had to walk every aisle, which is kind of par for the course for a trade show. You can't plan it all ahead. At least that's always been my experience. But my experience has always been limited primarily to looking at helmets. I mean, there's other fun stuff out there, but I'm primarily interested in helmets and always have been, going back to researching them with Harry Hurt back in the 70s.
So there's, just within the Italian pavilion, there's two. There's Aero and Premier helmets. And Premier actually got it started as a skateboard helmet in Southern California, then reverse engineering to Italy.
I found that fascinating. And our testing company that I used to be part of has done testing for them. But the fact that they were started in Southern California 70 years ago, 1956 is what they say. So that's 70 years this year. And then were bought about 50 years ago by an Italian family who still own it. That's tremendous because back when we were doing the Hurt study, there were probably 20 helmet companies in the Los Angeles area, Southern California, within 50 miles of where we sit today. And except for Bell and Premier, I think they're all gone. I haven't gone back and looked at a manufacturer list, but I will for the write-up for you here, because that'll be an interesting factoid that you used to be able to make helmets, here in Southern California, and it just doesn't happen anymore. There's none that are made here. The companies may have some association with here, but nothing's made here anymore.
Well, that seems to be the common lament across all industries. Nothing's made in America anymore. We go from well made in America to well, we make nothing in America.
Right. Which in and of itself isn't a bad thing. Some of the best helmets out there, including the most expensive ones, they're made somewhere else. They're made in Japan, they're made in China, they're made in Vietnam, they're made in Europe, Italy specifically. There's a lot of good Italian helmets out there. Yeah, we can see the Italian village right here with the two brands in here. Aero is back, AIROH. They were here some years ago, and they're back, which is neat because they make a really nifty helmet. And if you, as I am, she switched to Aero helmets this season 8. So she's wearing a nice modern helmet instead of the old obsolete one that she used to wear. So it's neat to see changes. And it's neat to see people participate in a trade show event like this. I just read your editorial about trade show pros and cons and ups and downs and backs and forths. And I couldn't agree more that there's a lot to be said for actually being able to touch something. You reach up and you can touch it. You can hold it. You can feel it. You can heft it. Because reading the numbers on the chart, oh, this one weighs 1,350 grams. What do you compare that to? What does that
means
mean?
Nothing. Unless you do it for a living like you do, you could probably pick up something and say that weighs 1,350.
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
That weighs 1,280, but
right. But what does that mean? What it means is, oh, this one's a whole lot heavier than this one. Oh, no wonder this one costs twice as much. Dang it.
Yeah, speed, cost. How fast can you afford to go? Well,
Yeah.
helmets weigh different weights. How light can you afford?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's $1,000 helmets. There's $1,000+ helmets out there.
Yeah.
Primarily ones meeting the FIM MotoGP racing standard. But they're very expensive, and they're light, and they're great helmets. I don't know if they're worth $1,000, $1,200, but they're really
but that
great
goes
helmets.
back to that Bell line. You got a $10 head, you get a $10 helmet. Maybe my head is worth that. Well, mine's not, but somebody's has got to be
somebody.
worth it.
Yeah, some young buck with not so many miles on them as we've got. Absolutely. Well, yeah, modify that to modern times, and $100 head, $200 head versus a $800 head, somewhere in there.
But that is true. There are some absolutely phenomenal $200 price point helmets that have all the bells and whistles, and then some of the formerly $600 helmet.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. And price has never been. You can directly equate it to weight. That's one thing that directly affects it. But you can get absolutely just as much protection from an inexpensive helmet as you can from an expensive helmet, because the standards that the helmets meet drive the performance of the performance of the helmet. So the fact that a helmet's not expensive doesn't mean it's not a great protection helmet, but it probably won't have the nice features. It won't be as nicely finished. It might squeak or something. There's going to be some downside to it too. But from a protection standpoint, you can still buy an inexpensive helmet that'll give you really good head protection.
Well, speaking of a race standard helmet for a bargain price, did you get by the KYT booth? And they just signed John McGuinness to race the Isle of Man wearing a KYT, which has been traditionally a bargain price point helmet.
I didn't hear that, but that's wow.
So if you trust his head to KYT, then there's something there. And they do have a couple of motors using KYT.
Neat. Yeah. Well, getting into top level motorcycle racing like that is an expensive proposition for everybody for many, many, many reasons. And there's a lot of good helmets at that level. It's just a matter of the company wanting to commit to that sort of a financial burden in order to win on Sunday and sell on Monday.
Yeah. Unless it's supercross racing, then you win on Saturday night
Saturday.
and you sell on Tuesday morning.
Exactly. So it's been a fun day. It's been a good day.
Well, Dave, thank you very much for the heads up again on the helmet market and the state of the industry here live from AIMExpo 2026.
Thank you, Robin.